And then now, if you come to 1970s, so European designers also saw the rise of Tokyo, right, or Hong Kong as a center of Western fashion. So that if you come to 70s, people like Yves Saint Laurent, this guy Yves Saint Laurent, he started to show his collection inspired by Asian themes. So this is his famous one called Le Chinoise collection, 1977. But again, this is what I mean by they pick and choose the cultural motifs, the way, you know, the young Longfellow picked and choose. So in Yves Saint Laurent's case, you know, Chinese fashion history or costume history, as you've studied, that is at least what, 5,000 years old. So which period you are going to choose have enormous impact on your overall, right? So did he choose a Tang Dynasty? No. Did he choose a Song Dynasty? No. He only chose what is known among popular culture, that is 19th century Chinese fashion. And also the way he found his inspiration is not really authentic Chinese. It's more like what he saw in movies or novels that were published late 1950s and in the early 20th century around him. So this is obviously the Qing dynasty, right? The last dynasty in China. So the Manchu style clothes. These are, you know, typical Manchu style motifs. And Manchu is also one ethnic group within China, right? And also that is one group that had enormous impact in Chinese history. So, you know, like this part, you know, let's say China is like a big pie, and then Manchu is this little, you know, important piece. So does Manchu represent the entire China? That is one question. And then what type of background does Yves Saint Laurent has? Has he ever studied in China? Or does he have relatives? Or France has some diplomatic relationship with China at the time? It is totally his ideas. He just wanted to create something new and this is important, new and exotic. So it is a little problematic. I mean, sometimes you put that inspiration piece here. And then, but Yves Saint Laurent is known for going outside his cultural domain and find a inspiration. So here, 70s, he also had an Indian collection. And then what else did he do? He, you know, Yves Saint Laurent also has a very important African collection. But what is important is 1970s is when the fashion system is skyrocketing globally. So whatever Yves Saint Laurent created is going to have a global impact through the fashion magazine, or, you know, through the broadcast, or, you know, through the system. So this is what you are seeing over and over again. And that's how Kim Kardashian, right, created that underwear collection named as Kimono, right? And then eventually she changed the name. And then shortly after, I think, you know, YSL is now part of the Louis Vuitton, right? Moet, Hennessy, you know, this big group, fashion group, so that they feel that they have a legacy of this type of using that overly exoticized fashion motifs. So they still go back. So that is why it's so problematic. And these are, again, global fashion systems. So whatever, like let's say one item becomes really popular, then the profit that is generated by this is huge. And then this is the famous opium perfume series. Have you ever seen this? I remember, you know, it was very popular in 70s. Everybody bought this in the airport or in the department stores. But the word opium. That is also problematic, right? Like Chinese people had such a humiliating period in the Opium War, and this is the beginning of what China became a colonized domain of imperial power. And the word itself, you can get it, it's like a very seductive, like opium. So once you start using this, you are hooked on this and you cannot refuse it. I mean, we all understand that it's so attractive and, you know, like seriously good. But you know, like these are also hurtful. You know, back then there was no protest or anything, but you know, if you create something like this again now, then customers will have some say on this. So it's in a way it's good. You know, designers have to think different ways of how to use motifs. So here it's a kimono designed by Yves Saint Laurent. So he called it like a kimono, but as you can see, there is nothing so Japanese about it, right? Other than this long robe. So in a way, hybrid, you know, hybrid decorative design. But you know, like with this neckline, this is more like a the West Asian style clothes, kaftan, for example. So it's totally hybrid. He can do more creative work without the inspiration, but this is how he got inspired. And so many people who don't have ethical, conscientious mind will simply look this. Instead of Japanese clothing in the museum, they think, oh, so this is Japanese. But it's not Japanese. You are looking at the wrong thing. And then they further try to create a motif out of this, not from the museum piece. So this is a Pierre Cardin. So among all those designers who actually had some good relationship and, you know, first-hand experience with Asia was Pierre Cardin. Yves Saint Laurent is what is called armchair traveler. Have you ever heard of this word? Armchair traveler. He never traveled. He just sat down and read a book. So he probably saw a lot of magazine or photos from previous period. And he designed it. He didn't go. I never lived in there. But Pierre Cardin, as you can see, the man, he went to China a few times, and you know, here so showed his design here, and these are called pagoda shoulders, and this is his tribute to Chinese culture. Here, the pagoda is a peaked. So you know, he didn't create like a Yves Saint Laurent style Asian fabrics, embroideries. It's just a very futuristic in a way, but he feels this as his tribute to Chinese culture. And if you see the surrounding onlookers or bystanders, they all show up in this Mao suit, 1970s. So Pierre Cardin is an interesting case. So finally, he created a global company. So as a child, I remember that some Korean company, I think, had a licensing agreement with Pierre Cardin to use his logo. It looked a little bit more like a P, with the angular shape. So that my socks had a Pierre Cardin logo, and then my handkerchief had a Pierre Cardin logo and everything. And he is the first designer who came up with this licensing agreement, a very innovative thinker.